This market just shifted in a way that could cost you thousands of dollars if you don't have the right plan. And here's the crazy thing about it. Most people here in Cincinnati have no idea that this is happening right now. So today we're going to break down exactly what has shifted in the market this year, who is making moves, and why this matters to you. And at the end of this video, you'll see the Cincinnati real estate market in a whole new way. But before we dive into the data, let's talk about why so many buyers and sellers are being misled and what's really happening in Cincinnati right now. All right, so first things first. On the surface level, everything looks pretty good. If you pick up a market report, the median sale price in Cincinnati as of July 2025 is $327,000. Now that's up 5.5% over 2024. Inventory jumped to 2,976 active listings. We're going to talk about that a little bit more. That's a 34% increase over last year. And the median days on market, as reported, is still just 7 days, which sounds a lot like a seller's market. But let's talk about the truth of that. Most experts are starting to say that the market is balancing out. And I would say to an extent that's true. And, especially when you're comparing it to what we were at in 2021, 2022, and 2023, things have been balancing out a little bit in terms of being more of a buyer's market and less of a seller's market. And honestly, after years of volatility where it has been a strong seller's market, a little bit of stability in the market sounds pretty good, especially to the buyers out there. But here's the catch, and where the data starts to get a little bit interesting. Redfin is actually showing that the time to close on average is 47 days in the Cincinnati market. Now, that's a lot different than the data from the RAGC, the Realtor Alliance of Greater Cincinnati, saying it takes 7 days to get under contract. And when the data between Redfin, Zillow, and the RAGC or CABR here in Cincinnati don't line up, that's a red flag that something is going on beneath the surface. So while everyone's busy celebrating balance, the bigger story is actually how people are behaving in this new market. Okay, so what actually just shifted in 2025? The biggest shift isn't around the headline of the pricing numbers. It's more about how long it's taking for these homes to sell, how long those homes are sitting on the active market. A year ago, and especially the last several years, homes were selling in a week or less, if not in multiple offers, if not over listing price. Now, many of those homes are sitting on the market for a week, 2 weeks, 30 days, or even longer. Price cuts right now are very common. They are everywhere. In fact, 23% of listings in Cincinnati in the month of August saw a price reduction. And those price reductions are oftentimes $10,000, $20,000 right off the bat, as sellers are realizing, my house isn't moving. I need to get people back in here. I need to do something aggressively right now to cut the price and get an offer on my house. Now, how does this break down by category? Well, starter homes, let's call them homes under $250,000 or less. You need to think about the amount of buyers in kind of a pyramid structure. So there's always going to be the most amount of buyers in the lower price point. So starter homes, especially if they're in good condition, are still going to go really fast. Okay, so if you're looking at trying to get in something just to own something, right? Your first home, $250,000 or less, you still need to move fast. But it's those mid-range homes in places like Westchester or Union, Kentucky, or Mason even, or Batavia, that range in the, let's call it 350 to like 650 range, that kind of mid-range, they are definitely sitting longer and longer. That's where there's a little bit less buyers in the funnel right now, and sellers are starting to sweat it out a little bit. And then luxury houses in the top of that pyramid, like places like in Marymount or Indian Hill or even Madeira, those can be kind of moody. They can go really fast. They might sit longer. It just depends on the condition, depends on how they're pricing, and depends on the time of year of when they're being sold. But in reality, because these homes are sitting on the market longer, it is shifting buyer psychology. It's flipping it. It's gone from, look, we've got to get an offer in right now. We'll take whatever's out there. We'll even pay over ask price to, let's wait. Let's be a little bit more picky. Let's see what's coming on the market next week. That is a drastic shift here locally. All right, let's talk a little bit about this inventory breakdown and understand who's putting homes on the market right now, who's actually selling. Because once you actually see what's happening in the market, you can start to make really smart and wise decisions and not make foolish decisions where you're going to waste thousands of dollars on the wrong house. First, what we're seeing is longtime owners are now starting to cash out. Now, In the last maybe 3 years, with those rates being lower, let's say someone was locked into a 2% rate or a 3% rate, and rates went up to 7% or 7.5%. They're like, no, I'm not selling my house at 3% and then going to buy another one at 7%. The math just doesn't make sense. But some of these owners now who have owned their houses for 10 to 15 years are able to overcome that jump in the interest rates because they've built up enough equity. They're cashing out now. That amount of equity trumps and overcomes the rates being higher if they're going to purchase on the backside. Who's another group that we're starting to see more sales from? Well, investors are starting to pull back. So during the pandemic, we saw kind of a boom here locally of investors coming in, making cash offers, buying properties, renting them out. But right now, they've got rising property taxes. The houses are older, so they've got more maintenance on those homes, and the margins are just a little bit tighter. Investors are getting squeezed on their margins here. I'm actually feeling that myself as an investor who flips homes and who holds homes, and I'm being much more cautious on houses that I'm choosing to flip or houses that I'm choosing to buy and hold. But as a whole, we're seeing investors pull back, and some of those properties are being listed on the market. So that's adding to the inventory on the market. All right, this next group of sellers are kind of testing the waters, and these are the move-up sellers, okay? So these are families who maybe they bought a 3-bedroom or a 4-bedroom, and they're wanting to move up to the next home. So let's say they bought their house in that $300,000 to $500,000 range, but maybe they want to move up to $450,000 or $500,000, $550,000, $650,000, $750,000 because for a number of reasons. Maybe their family's getting bigger. Maybe they've had more kids. Maybe their kids are growing. Maybe they want to be in a different school district. But there's no question that these homes are struggling the most, and we're seeing the most amount of price cuts in this price range. Now, here's another group that might surprise some of you out there in YouTube land who are thinking of moving to the Cincinnati area for the affordability. But some of the out-of-state owners who already bought here back in the pandemic, some of them are putting their houses on the market. So people who've moved here from Chicago or California or New York or Texas or Florida or Oregon, they bought back in 2020, 2021, 2022. They saw all this appreciation. Now they're looking to exit potentially and, kind of capitalize and cash out on those gains they made on the property. So you've got these 4 different groups, but then lastly, you've got builders who are adding to the competition. So even though the days on market is going up, we are still in a shortage in terms of the amount of inventory we need for the households and the growth that's happening in the Cincinnati Northern Kentucky area. You're continuing to see home builders build on the Kentucky side, on the Ohio side, whether that's out in Claremont County, whether that's north in Liberty Township, areas like that, north of Westchester, or in Kentucky around Union, Hebron, Walton, Kentucky, Independence. A lot of growth is adding more and more inventory onto the market. So the important thing to take away here is it's not just about locking in that rate for the long term anymore. There's a lot of other reasons why sellers are looking to sell right now, and they're cashing out for a variety of reasons that we just talked about. And that's putting more inventory on the market right now. So let's talk about buyer psychology right now, because this is where it gets really interesting. The biggest shift isn't really about the supply that's coming on the market. It's about how buyers think. So this is where it gets really, really interesting. For the first time in many, many, many years, buyers feel like they have a little bit of leverage again. They feel like they've got a little bit of negotiating power. So instead of having to jump right in and move instantly when a house hits the market, no, you can wait. You can kind of sit back. So you know what's out there. I want to be a little bit pickier. I want to be a little bit choosier. I might wait 2, 3, 4 weeks before I make an offer on a property because I'm getting a feel for what's going on in the market and it's coming back to me a little bit. Now, that's not to say that houses won't sell right away, because they still will. There's definitely a shift happening, but there's also properties that will, if they're priced right and if they're in really good condition, they will go right away. So buyers, you're getting more power, but you're not getting all of the power, but you are getting some. So you get to be a little bit choosier about where you put in, what you're going to put an offer on. Some buyers, as they're going through inspections, we're seeing more and more of these deals kind of fall under contract. If they're not getting what they want in the inspection, especially on some of these older houses, buyers are being a little bit more aggressive on that inspection period. They're asking for a little bit more in terms of repairs from sellers. And if they're not getting it, they're like, okay, that's fine. We'll back out of this deal. We'll go look at the next house down the street. The other thing I'm seeing is cash buyers are scoring some bigger discounts. So that could be 2, 4, 5, 8, 10%. Depends on how long that home has been sitting on the market. But if you're a cash buyer versus financing, you're able to save thousands of dollars on that initial purchase price. And lastly, things like the commute and school districts and property taxes. These are things that buyers are considering more and more right now. They're being pickier than they have been in years. And the truth is, they can afford to be. I think it's safe to say the Cincinnati real estate market has officially moved from a seller driven frenzy to a buyer driven negotiation. Okay, so let's break it down. What does this all mean for you? How can you benefit from this? Well, if you're a buyer, now's a great time of year to buy a house. I say this every single year. People are back in school, and really from August all the way through January, we see the median sale price go down every single month. I consistently see this every single year. So if you're a buyer, now is a great time, especially if you're willing to strike on those houses that have been sitting for 30 days and longer, because that's when sellers get nervous. That's when sellers get more motivated. Now, the mistake here is to assume that every seller is going to take a drastically low discount on the house. That's not the case. A lot of sellers who are out there right now, they might not be getting what they want, but they also might not need to move right now. So they'll be okay pulling that listing off the market and waiting till next spring to sell. But overall, if you're a buyer, the fall and winter are a great time to strike when it comes to discounts. I say this to all of my buyers. It can be a little bit harder, like the days get a little bit shorter, it starts to get colder, but the fall and the winter are a great time to buy in the Cincinnati area. Now, if you're a seller in the Cincinnati area, what does this mean for you? Well, it's time to reset expectations, okay? You can't just put anything out there and expect it to sell in the first weekend or expect it to sell in the first 7 days. You really need to start expecting that the home is going to be on the market for 30 to 45 days. The other thing with that is you need to be thinking through price reductions, even when you're talking to the agent on that front end. If it's not moving, if you're not getting buyers in the door, you're not going to be getting offers. So definitely think through your pricing strategy on the front end. You need to be smart about that. You need to stop pushing it so far. You need to be more concerned about getting a buyer and getting an offer right now than trying to push that max price, because otherwise you're going to lose thousands if it's sitting on the market for 30, 45, 60 days or longer. You got to do the price reductions, and then buyers are going to offer you even less because they're like, why is this on the market so long? So you need to be ready to adjust the price if needed. And you need to kind of change your mindset. That's not losing, right? You're not losing out. You're just adjusting to where the market is at right now. We can't control the real estate market. Where it's at right now is buyers have more negotiation. There's more inventory on the market. They can be pickier. So you need to be smart in order to get your home sold. And along with the pricing strategy, that's why strong marketing is more important than ever. Choosing an agent that has the experience with staging, with marketing, with pricing, with understanding the dynamics of the market, this is more important than ever, because if not, you're not going to be standing out against the competition. Your house is going to sit and you're going to lose thousands of dollars in the sale of your home. All right, guys. So there you have it. Cincinnati market, it has shifted. It is not the same. And most people are not realizing it right now. They're not seeing it. They think they're reading these headlines and they still think it's a balanced market. We're not in a balanced market anymore. We are in a transition period, and that's going to create challenges and obstacles, but it's also going to create a lot of opportunities. And so if you're not working with an experienced agent who understands what is happening in the market right now, you could be missing out. You could be hitting these challenges and obstacles head on and missing out on the opportunities. And that's why if you're thinking of buying or selling a home in Cincinnati or Northern Kentucky, it is time to get smart about your strategy. And guys, that is what we love to do at Team Sztanyo. Sit down with you, listen to your needs, understand what's going on, and then bring our market expertise to help you get the best deal on the home that's right for you. We do this all the time. We are relocation experts, and I work with families, with professionals, with retirees, with first-time home buyers every single week, whether they're looking to buy or sell a home in the area. We've got over 100 5-star Google reviews. Please go check those out. Just please go read the reviews and check them out. See what people are saying about working with myself and my team. But if you guys are ready to get started, call or text the number you see on the screen. You can email me, go to our website, fill out the form. We're going to have a free consultation with you so we can understand your situation and see if we're a good fit to work together. We would love to help you buy or sell a home in the Cincinnati or Northern Kentucky area. Guys, the market has shifted. Make sure you are making a smart decision. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one.